around the graves? Were they sitting around the trees?
No.
No, they
Families
weren't sitting around the trees.
Not streets.
They were sitting around the graves.
Graves in
So,
cemetery.
where were they sitting? Around the graves.
Around.
Families were sitting around the graves of their dead ancestors. Were they sitting around the graves of their dead ancestors?
Yes.
Yes, they were sitting around the graves of their dead ancestors. Were they sitting around the graves of their friends?
No, friend.
No,
They
not
are
really.
ancestors.
They were sitting around the graves of their
Ancestors.
dead ancestors.
Ancestors.
Who was sitting around the graves? That's right. Families were sitting around the graves. Whose graves were they sitting around?
Ancestors.
Whose graves were they sitting around?
Families.
Yes, their
Ancestors.
dead ancestors. Their ancestors.
Ancestors.
Their ancestors' graves. They were sitting around the graves of their dead ancestors. Were they sitting around the graves of their dead ancestors or the graves of their friends? Ancestors, right? They were sitting around the graves of their dead ancestors. They cleaned the graves and added fresh flowers. Okay. Who cleaned the graves?
Families.
That's right, the families.
Families.
What did they add?
As fresh
They
flowers.
added fresh flowers. Did they add food?
No. As
No, they didn't
fresh
add
flowers.
food. Did they add money?
No, not money.
No, they didn't add money. They added fresh flowers.
Yes.
What did they clean?
They cleaned
the
graves.
Whose graves did they clean?
Families.
Their ancestors, right? They cleaned their ancestors' graves.
Ancestors.
Where did they add flowers?
Around
Where?
graves.
Oh, they added flowers to the graves.
Too.
That's right. They cleaned the graves and added fresh flowers. Very good. I walked through the cemetery and admired the beauty of all the colorful flowers. Where did I walk?
I walked through
Through
cemetery.
the cemetery. I walked through the cemetery.
đọc từ ngang qua đi.
Did I walk through the park?
Through.
No, I didn't walk through the park. I walked through the cemetery. Where did I walk? Through the cemetery. Who walked through the
Me.
cemetery?
I walk through
I did,
cemetery.
AJ. I walked through the cemetery. Did I walk through the cemetery or did I walk through the park?
Certainly
I walked through
cemetery.
the cemetery. That's right.
Cemetery.
And I admired the beauty of all the colorful flowers.
Admire beauty
Did I
of
admire
all
the beauty
colorful flower.
of the trees? No. I didn't admire the beauty
Beauty
of the
of all
trees.
the
Did I
colorful
admire
flower.
the beauty of the children? Did I admire 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 the
No.
No, I didn't admire the beauty of the children. What did I admire?
I admire the beauty
Flowers,
of all
right?
the
Yeah, I admired
colorful
beauty.
flowers.
of all the colorful flowers.
Colorful flowers.
Who admired the beauty of all the colorful flowers?
Of course, me.
Yeah, that's right. AJ, me, admired the beauty of all the colorful flowers. Where were the flowers? Yeah,
A
on
cemetery.
the graves. Right?
On the
Or in
grave.
the cemetery.
Graves.
Right? The flowers were on the graves in the cemetery.
Yes.
Were the flowers in the park?
No.
No, they weren't in the park. Were the flowers in my house?
No.
No, they weren't in my house. Where were the flowers?
The flower
The flowers
on the
were
graves in
on
the
the
cemetery.
In the cemetery. Where did I walk?
I walked through
I walked
cemetery.
through the cemetery.
Cái đó.
When did I
Ôi, chị
walk
rồi.
through the cemetery? November 1st, the Day of the Dead. Right, November 1st, the Day of the Dead, I walked through the cemetery. What was the cemetery like?
Cemetery like a
Like
party.
a party. It was like a party. The cemetery was like a party.
Yes.
Was I curious about this holiday?
The day of the
Yes,
dead.
I was curious about
Curious.
this holiday. Which holiday was I curious about?
I curious on the day of the dead.
Yeah, the Day of the Dead. I was curious about the Day of the Dead. So I walked through the cemetery. There was also color in the sky because many kids
Many kids
were flying
are flying
kites.
kites.
Where was the color?
In the sky.
In the sky, that's right, in the sky. Why was there color?
Because many kids
In the
are
sky.
flying kites.
Oh, because kids were
Because.
flying kites, right? The kites. There was color in the sky because kids were flying kites. Who were flying kites?
Many kids.
Kids. Kids were flying kites. Was the sky colorful or was the sky gray?
The sky,
The sky was
colorful. Colorful.
What was colorful?
In the sky.
Right, the
The
sky
sky.
was colorful. Why was the sky colorful?
Because many kids
Because
are
kids were flying kites. What were the kids flying?
Kites.
Kites. That's right. The kids were flying kites. Where were they flying kites?
In the sky.
In the cemetery, right? The kids were flying kites in the cemetery. Who was flying kites in the cemetery?
Many kids.
Kids, right?
Kids.
Children. Kids were flying kites in the cemetery. Some families were having a picnic next to the graves. We, in the United States, don't do this. So some families were having a picnic next to the graves. They ate, they drank, and they chatted together. Did they eat? Yes, they ate. Who ate? Families, right?
Family
of course.
eat,
Families ate.
drink, and
What did they
chat
eat?
together.
Huh? They ate Guatemalan food.